Smart24 Driving Business.
We are hosting. Sorry, I'm having a bit of some network issues. Yes, as I said, today's topic is crafting your message, how to develop and deliver compelling speeches. And we have a very special guest here who is, I'm sure all of you know him, you've seen him around, he's very good at public speaking. We shall be hosting Mr. Tony Otoa today. He's going to take us through our topic. Just to give you a brief background on who Mr. Tony Otoa is, he's an experienced public affairs consultant with a demonstrated history working in the oil and energy industry. He has successfully established the Stanbic Bank Incubator, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, as the leading SME incubator in Uganda, and it has helped build capacity of hundreds of SMEs across different parts of Uganda. He is also the CEO of Otoa International Associates, a leading local content solution provider in the oil and gas sector. Mr. Tony Otoa is passionate about leadership, and he is the founder of the Ubuntu Leadership Safari. He is a public speaking coach, professional speaker, and an entrepreneur. So Tony, we are so excited to have you here. Thank you for taking off some time in your day to talk to us about public speaking and speeches. Welcome, Tony.
I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm loud and clear. Hi, I hope you can hear me, and I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry. Tony, we can't hear you on the space.
So I'm just to speak, so we can continue on here as
on the Twitter space, we are live on Zoom, and we're going to share the Zoom link in the comment section. And we're also live on Smart24 TV. Please tune in and listen in from there as we sort out our technical issues on the Twitter space.
okay. And I sent through so your side to just accept the speaking request, but we can just post it.
All right, without wasting any time, Tony, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I think you just did an amazing introduction of myself, but my name is Tony Otoa. I do quite a number of things. My personality type has so much to go. I take care of a business subsidiary that supports business access to markets, access to finance, and many other. But on top, I also do a lot of stuff with Ubuntu Leadership Safari, which is something I founded with a very good friend of mine, Amy Otin, and it's really about leadership conversations and having support systems to grow ourselves, mentor ourselves, and best places or best avenues to be the best of who we are every day.
Thank you so much. So as you know, our topic for today is public speaking and giving compelling speeches. So could you tell us your journey to public speaking? How did the public speaking journey begin for you? Did it come naturally? Was this something you were just born with? You know, some people just say, no, you know, some people are in public. So begin this journey.
I can't really when it for a fact I was a very, kid. I was very my school doing all, and I remember. So I just said, it's something that I just, started. I mean, when I got engrossed in these whole issues, it was something that I really got myself up. I was a very shy guy in primary school. I never had an opportunity of, going out there to speaking skills. I wasn't so much of a lead, anything of the sort. But it's in high school that I got into debate, and what really got me speak. Every leadership opportunity that came around was an opportunity to be able to take on and speak to people, engage with people, convince people, and that's the whole story comes into shape. After high school, I get onto radio. So being on radio meant communicating with people, communicating ideas, and so many things. So all
activities that you had to do. So just to, sorry. I was saying it's very interesting. It means that it was a result of the places that you placed yourself in and the activities that you had to do in your career, that putting yourself in the right positions to expose you to speaking in public. Yes.
Anything that the whole very people by the more you put in the effort, the more you put in the more you reflect. So that for me was really just doing as much as I could in myself to understand more the styles and speaks me. Yeah, we have
work in progress, always work in progress. Even today, it's work in progress.
Okay, so it's viewers, I hope you've heard it's a work in progress. Practice makes perfect. And so Tony, there's a game, just before we continue, there is a game that we play here called One Truth and Two Lies. So you have to tell us something true about yourself and two lies, and the audience has to guess which one is the truth and which ones are the lies. So I want to give you some time to tell us, and then we can reveal the answer after the interview.
Okay, fair enough. So do you want me to say them now? 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 Say them now?
Yes, just say them now. Just give us 3 statements. One should be the truth, and 2 should be a lie. Yes.
I'm an international lawyer. That's the first statement. The second statement is I do not like anything to do with meat. The third one is I never think of myself, and I don't think of myself as an entrepreneur.
Smart24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
From a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku simu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumira omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kwotadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwa ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kozesa data.
Yo TV channels.
A minimum of 800,000 to 1 million to 2 million in 2 weeks. That is the money that you can get from waste management, just getting those bottles and packing them and selling them. A minimum of 2 million in just a couple of weeks. Join us this Saturday on Women in Business as we get to discuss this particular sector with Doreen Kemcha, Women in Business on Smart24 TV. 70% of Uganda's population is employed by the agriculture sector.
On average, 50 to 60-year-olds are actively participating in agriculture.
Why are the youth participating less in agribusiness?
Most people in agriculture think when they hear that you're in the village or you're in agriculture, the first thing they will say is, are you in the garden? As you're not dirty.
Join us this Saturday, 10 a.m. on Smart24 TV as we digest some of the solutions on how the youth can empower themselves in the agribusiness sector.
Smart24, driving business.
It. So all of these things compound into creating value for the person or the audience that is listening in. And if you can't match that volume, if you can't do that, then it becomes a very tricky way of you conveying your message in the long run.
All right, okay. Thank you for that. So guys, I hope you've heard. Always know your audience. Prepare for whatever audience that you have to be addressing at that time. If you know that you're going to be speaking to a team of delegates, you prepare in a different way from if you know that you're going to prepare for a team of high school kids. So I just want to ask those who have any questions, kindly type them into the chat, or if you'd like to ask your question personally, please raise your hand and you'll be admitted in the chat. And would also like to remind you that we have a poll running. Please guess which one is true of these three statements about our current speaker right now. Is Tony an international lawyer? Does he not like anything to do with meat? Or does he not think of himself as an entrepreneur? Please take our poll and let us know your answers. And I'd like to remind you that we are also live on Smart24 TV and we are live on Zoom as well. So those who are unable to join us on the Twitter space, the Zoom link is in the comments. You can join through Zoom. Tony, so we always hear about an elevator pitch. Like people talk about an elevator pitch. What should one contain? What should an elevator pitch contain?
So again, it just goes back to the principles that we're just talking about when you think about how to present. I mean, I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'll tell you one thing. One of the most critical things is the elevator pitch. How you show up is very, very important, but it's also about how you present your idea. Now, elevator pitching is very much about one, again, going back to the Greek tendencies of public speaking. One, you need to know, or you need to be credible about what you're speaking about. You need to be able to convince people about what you're speaking about. But more importantly, you need to be able to demonstrate that the message you're conveying is one that you are convinced about as well. Now, it's really about few principles, and these are things that really guide when you're talking about elevator pitch. One, it has to be very short, precise, to the point. Just hit the point. Don't go about dilly-dallying and going around in circles. Very short, to the point. At most 100 words, but remember, short. At most, let's say 1 minute. Make it important. Make it punchy and make it and make it worthwhile to remember. Number two, make it interesting. If it's not interesting, no one will. Impressions are very important, and people easily fall off. If you can't impress me for 5 seconds, I don't think you'll hold my attention for the next 1 minute. Now, it's an elevator pitch, very fast, very punchy. So you need to make it interesting. The third one is you should personalize it. People like stories that are personal. People like conversations that are personal. Personalize it. People like authenticity. The more a story is, the more a pitch is authentic, the more real it is to be listened to. The more real it is for people to actually, keep going and on and on and on and on, listen to the same. But most important of all, show up. Show up. Now, I'm not saying you have to be cocky or act funny or arrogant, but just show up. Be confident. Show people you know what you're saying. Own it. And the moment you do that, trust me, people will believe you because they know you know what you're talking about. Other than coming and stammering from word go and you can't actually articulate whatever you're saying, and because of that, you're just timing out and not being able to, demonstrate your ability to convey a message or a pitch to, a potential investor or a potential funder or whatever. So that's pretty much what I would say about the elevator pitches.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. So what I've got from that, make it short and sweet. Make a good impression and be confident. You talked about something that I want to touch on, which is be confident. You don't have to be, rather make it short and let it grab attention. So what I noticed, I personally, with most public speakers out there, they come up with like a tagline or a joke. What would you say for people who don't have a sense of humor and they just don't know how to break that ice? Are they doomed? Will they not be able to do the public speaking thing.
Okay, first and foremost, stories are good. We all like stories. We love stories. But I'll be very honest with you as well. Your story has to be, number one, authentic. Number two, if it's a funny joke or a funny story, do not over joke. Sometimes you might misfire on the joke. But also, number three, remember that for authenticity to happen, your story has to be personal, it has to be real, it has to be, checked in by you even before you speak about it. A lot of the time, we will go into conversations in our local hangouts or bufunda or whatever, pick up a conversation from another guy and want to use the same in our speeches or conversations. And what it does is that it ends up diluting our authenticity. So stories are great, but also they have to be measured, they have to be appropriate, they have to be appropriate for the crowd or the people that you're speaking to. You've heard of the common saying, read the crowd, read the crowd. So when you're reading the crowd and you're just understanding who the crowd is, you need to know how to speak to them, what you're going to say to them, and what stories to bring to the table. But without saying much, stories are amazing, especially in any speech. When you tell a story, you personalize your speech. You make it authentic. You bring people closer to you because they are relating with your experience. And that is something that many of us forget about. Because whenever we go into speaking or situations of the kind, we just ramble and read off paper or cheats or paper, and we forget to be authentic. We forget to just go slow and enjoy ourselves. So stories are great. They're a great icebreaker, especially if you're not very comfortable with the crowd you're speaking with. Usually some people will start off with a story and you'll find someone in the crowd saying, oh, and same as me. And instantly you are now flowing, you are relatable, and you are great. So stories are great, but they have to be appropriate. You need to master your crowd. You need to know what crowd you're speaking to. You need to make your story authentic. Do not just copy and paste, because there'll be a lot of doubts in your own authenticity as the guy who's making the speech.
Okay, thank you for that. So stories are great. I'm going to start a book where I'm going to put in all my stories for my next public speaking event. So guys, you've had it here. If you're not humorous like some of us, I don't have a sense of humor. You can use stories to break the ice. Don't make them too long, and be authentic with your stories. Okay, thank you for that. I would just like to remind you guys that we have a poll running. What is true about our speaker? Is he an international lawyer? Does he hate anything to do with meat? Does he not think of himself as an entrepreneur? Please put in your answers. The poll is running. And those who have questions, kindly type your questions in the comment section, or you can raise your hand and we'll let you into the chat. I would like to remind you that we are also live on Smart24 TV. I'd like to recognize some of our listeners: Senior Counsel Fiona Wall, our founder of FLI. Thank you for tuning in. Lynn Komugesha, thank you for tuning in. Bakash, Isaac Bakash, we see you. Tuning in. Penina, we also see you, and we appreciate you guys for taking your time and tuning into the space. So another question I have for you, Tony, is nervousness. Public speaking comes with a lot of nervousness. They tell you you have to address this crowd, even though it's as small as a group of 10 people. If it's your first time doing it, it's something that will still give you nerves. So what are the hacks you have for those who get nervous, those who have stage fright? How can they move past this?
Right. I will start off with what I normally do. It depends on the crowd or the number of people in the crowd or where I'm speaking from. But normally, before I start up a crazy speech, deep breathing. Deep breathing is a very good equalizer for nervousness. Deep breathing from the medieval times has been used as a way of being calm or going back to your calmness. So no matter what situation you're in or stress levels you're in, the deep inhale and exhale will do quite some amazing magic. The other one that I always tell people to do is to just imagine people are clapping for you at the end of the speech. Just like what sportsmen have, because how sportsmen, or most sportsmen, actually win races is that they think or visualize the end before they even begin. So he visualizes winning and people jumping and celebrating him. So you as well, that should comfort you and know that you're going to kill it. The other one that I believe is very, very important is, just imagine you're doing this for yourself. And that's why it's very important for us to constantly practice in front of mirrors. Mirrors are quite interesting sparring partners, because it's from that you practice. You look at your facial expressions and all of these things that actually support you in becoming a good speaker or speaking well, your body language and all of that. So again, just imagine you are just on your own stage. It's just the spotlight is on you, and everyone is waiting to listen to the best thing from you. Those alone are just great ones. But again, there's this other aspect as well of where you and again, nervousness presents itself in different ways. Some people have butterflies in their stomach. Some people have sweaty palms. Some people, all of a sudden, the tongue just ceases to move. But again, practicing, doing the kind of like, it's like a press up for your tongue, just getting it revved up. Those are things that get you ready and kicked up. But I'll also tell you one very interesting hack about nervousness. We're always nervous because we believe there's so many eyes looking at us and just us alone in that room or spot. One very interesting hack is to always look at the guy in front of you or the last guy at the back of the room and just look at the top of their head. Don't give them eye contact. Just look at the top of their head and keep moving your head around the room. As you do that, just keep looking at the top of people's heads. What people don't understand is that they will think that you are giving them attention or looking at them, while on your end, you're simply avoiding them but delivering your speech for them. So that's one of the hacks that I've used before. And trust me, it's worked to the point that now I don't need to use it. I mean, it's just now a common thing. But if you are worried about people looking at you, don't look at people in the eyes, because if you do, you'll get yourself locked in there and it becomes very difficult to articulate whatever you're going to say. And again, stop overthinking about the next word that's going to come out of your mouth. Usually, we tend to think about how we are organizing the next word to flow with our sentence. But if you just think about it, everything I'm saying or speaking right now, it's not that I prepared it. It's just that my mind is just rambling on, because we are wired like that as humans to deliver easily. The reason why we stammer, we stutter and hesitate is because we are struggling to articulate our sentences by thinking about what has to come next. So if you can just avoid that and just free flow, enjoy yourself, I can guarantee you that will take away a lot of your nervousness.
Thank you so much. Those are wonderful tips. Guys, I hope you're taking notes, because usually Tony charges for this sort of advice, because he does have a masterclass running on public speaking. But we are blessed to have him here, taking us through this for free. So just to recap on what he said, tips for people who get nervous while public speaking: take a deep breath. Imagine that the crowd is clapping for you. Get delusional with it. Imagine that the crowd is clapping for you. Practice in mirrors. Make sure, stand in front of a mirror and practice. Practice your posture, practice your voice, practice your tone. And one interesting hack that he's told us is look at the guy in front of you. If you're afraid of looking at crowds, or you feel that there are too many eyes on you, just focus on that one person in front of you and focus on top of their head, and the nerves will disband. Also, relax, don't overthink it, and just go with the flow. Thank you for those tips, Tony. As I wait for questions in the comment section, I have one more question for you, which is, we've talked about nervousness and nerves, but something about voice control and projecting. Because, you know, there are some people who have softer voices, other people naturally have louder voices. How does someone who, let's say, has a softer voice or is just not naturally loud, what can they do when it comes to voice control and public speaking?
So I keep telling people this. A lot of what you communicate is judged by your voice tone or your voice. Communicate or how you project your voice is very important. If I spoke like this and I was talking about going to war, come with me to war, you would hardly follow me to war if I was using that kind of tone. But if I spoke with a tone and an authority, calling you and warning you to war and saying, come with me, it's time to go out and defend ourselves, there's a difference. So it's really about the tone, how you use it. And you see, I know some of us are naturally soft-spoken people, but there are times when we need to kind of elevate that kind of speech to be able to articulate that even further, or trying to say. So a lot of our communication and how we present ourselves, most of it is judged from how our tone comes out or how we project our tones. Now, I'll tell you one thing for a fact. People will judge you on two crazy things: your body language and your tone. You might have the best message written out and you might be reading it off the best teleprompter manufactured yesterday, but for as long as your tone and your body language are not in unison with the messaging, you might not go far. So it's very important for you to understand that, number one, you have to articulate that tone. You have to bring it out. Now, I know many women are not privileged like Barry White or any of these guys who had amazing baritones, but the truth is, you have to keep practicing as well to bring out that authoritative voice. But again, in times of sorrow, your tone also has to be projected that way. You can't go in with a very strong tone. You have to go in with a soft tone, a compassionate tone, an empathetic tone, and that is how your message is well received. So your tone and your body language are equally important to the messaging you have written down that you're trying to communicate.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm sure so many of us have appreciated that, because tone is really, especially I think for the ladies maybe, because sometimes, you know, ladies tend to have softer voices, so bringing out that bass and that authoritativeness takes a lot of work. So I would like to just read some of the questions. Edna Caroline Biencha is asking, is it important for a good speaker to be self-aware?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. You see, when you are self-aware, what you're simply doing is you're bringing out your authentic self. You're working with your personality to really speak and try and be who you are. People are attracted to authentic things or beings. And once you do that, your whole personality comes out. So self-awareness is very important. And self-awareness can flow in so many directions or dimensions. Number one, am I really cut out for this? Because if I'm not really cut out for this, then how do I communicate? Because some of us might not be cut out to speak every day, but let's say your spouse has passed on or whatever, or you've been given this huge task to speak and articulate an idea. Self-awareness comes into play. So you work around what you are not good at to improve on that. And that's why knowing what you're good at and knowing what you are weak at is very important, because you know what to build on and you know what to kind of like get help, on. And as a public speaker or a speaker, if I knew, and like personally for myself, I always knew that, remembering material was difficult. Remembering and cramming material was difficult. But I had to learn it in sequences where using small notes or cheats, and articulating a point and making it flow into the next became something that became, or has become now, quite natural. Like what I'm doing right now is completely without any notes or anything to help me. But that has just proven something that I've been practicing over time. So I knew I was weak at that and I had to improve on it. And I'm still improving in so many other aspects. But to be honest with you, all this is work in progress. So it's really about knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at, complementing what you're good at, and working on what you're not good at. So self-awareness is amazingly important.
Okay, thank you so much, you guys. I hope you have had. Be self-aware, be authentic. We have another question just as we wind up from Gerald. He's asking, what don't most people know about public speaking as a skill? That's a very general question.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Being a CEO has taught me very many things. I've been a CEO for quite some time now at a very big corporate entity, and I've learned one thing. In those boardrooms, it's not really about all these fancy IQ ideas. It's really just about how you articulate your ideas, how you sell your ideas to a board, to your stakeholders, to your staff, to your team. And I'll tell you one thing. Public speaking, more than ever, is a very essential tool if you want to rise in either your career, or if you want to speak more about your entrepreneurship journey, for those who are hustlers and want to get funding or want to grow their businesses and so on and so forth. Important aspect, even in just how we articulate our daily. Now, it's, if anything, a skill that I believe every human being has. But let me tell you one interesting fact. 75% of humans are actually people that fear speaking. They fear speaking. And there's a very interesting quote by a very interesting actor who said that at a funeral, over 90% of the people, including the person who is giving the eulogy, would rather be in the casket and not on the platform. Now, guys, I can't tell you how much public speaking is great, but trust me, it will put you in the right rooms. It will put you in the right conversations. It will make you memorable. It will make you desired. It will make you the person that everyone wants to be around. You are the person that can bring ideas to life. You are the person that can articulate ideas. You're the person that moves things. So speaking is a very important thing. Now, let me tell you something interesting about the Romans or the Greeks. They had very huge colosseums or arenas. And in these arenas, what used to happen were that young men, all the way up to their teenage years or young adulthood years, they would go out, speak to thousands of people. There were no microphones. There were no speakers. But they would speak to thousands of people and bring forward their points and articulate them well. That was the power of articulation and public speaking. And by the way, the best public speakers then became leaders, the lawyers, and the guys who made things happen. Well, I can't underestimate how that is also happening today. So you might be great at what you do, the greatest scientist or the greatest, intellectual guy. But if you can't articulate your ideas, if you can't defend your ideas, it's a very sad place to be.
Hi, Sheila. Can I ask one question before we wrap up?
Yes, please, Bakash, go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony and Fidelis. You guys are really doing some great work. Really congratulations, share knowledge. And thank you so much for not giving up on young people and for always sharing your knowledge every time. My question is, I've heard, this fear talked about, I don't know, I'm shy what
Smart24, driving business.
UDC came on board in December 2020. When they joined us at a time when basically we are non-operational. We have machinery, that is the cotton gins, we have a cotton mill plant, we have oil mill,